This is my true story. I thought I had found love when I met her. I gave her everything. My money, my time, my loyalty. I believed she was the one who would stand by me, the one who wanted a future with me. But I was wrong. She used me, drained me, and then betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. With my own brother. The two people I trusted most laughed behind my back while I worked to keep them happy. But I didn't stay silent. I exposed them. You won't believe what I did next. Before I tell you how, comment where you're watching from and please subscribe so my story can reach more people. I met her when I was still young, and from the very first moment, I believed she was different from anyone else. She had a smile that made me forget the weight of the world, and I thought if I held on to her, I would never feel alone again. I gave her everything I had, not just my heart, but my money, my time, and my energy. When she struggled to pay her bills, I stepped in without hesitation. When she wanted new clothes or things that were out of reach, I made sure she got them. When her car broke down, I was there to fix it, or if it was too much, I paid to have it repaired. I never questioned it, because to me, this was what love looked like. Love was sacrifice, and I thought the more I sacrificed, the stronger our bond became. She told me about her dreams, and I carried them as if they were my own. I helped her push forward in her career, encouraged her when she felt discouraged, lifted her up when she doubted herself. Every time she wanted to start something new, I was the first one to support her, whether it was money, time, or advice. I worked late nights just so I could afford the things she wanted, and even when I was tired and drained, her happiness made me feel like it was worth it. I believed she loved me the same way I loved her. I believed every smile was real, every word of affection came from her heart. I thought we were building something together, a future that would stand strong no matter what. I saw her as my partner, the person I would marry, the one who would raise children with me, the one I would grow old beside. She was not just my girlfriend, she was the center of my world, and I believed I was the center of hers. Looking back, I realized the devotion was one-sided, but at the time, I could not see it. I blinded myself to the signs because I wanted the dream so badly. I believed that giving everything meant I would eventually receive the same in return. I thought love was an equal exchange, and I convinced myself that she was giving as much as I was, even when the truth was the opposite. My heart was open, my loyalty firm, and my trust complete. I thought I was living in a story of devotion, but in reality, I was only building myself into a tool for her to use. It took time for me to realize that something was wrong, because in the beginning, I thought every relationship had its ups and downs. But slowly, I began to notice the pattern. She only called me when she needed something. If her rent was due, she called. If her bills piled up, she called. If she wanted a vacation with her friends but didn't have the money, she called. And every time I answered, every time I showed up, every time I reached into my pocket, she smiled as if I was doing what I was supposed to do. But when it came to me, when I needed her, she was rarely there. She never asked about my struggles, never cared about my sleepless nights or the weight of working long hours. When I came home tired, she was not there with comfort. She was there with demands. When I talked about my dreams, she brushed them aside as if they were less important than her own. I began to see that her love came only when I gave her what she wanted, and when I had nothing to offer, she disappeared. My savings started shrinking because most of what I earned went into her hands. I paid for dinners, for gifts, for trips, for the things she used to show off in front of her friends. She wanted to look like she lived a life of luxury, and I was the one paying for that image. Her friends would compliment her, tell her how lucky she was, but none of them knew it wasn't luck. It was me draining myself to keep her happy. At times, my heart told me that this was love, that sacrifice was part of being in a relationship. But deep down, her actions whispered something else: convenience. I wasn't her partner, I was her provider. I was the man she leaned on only because I gave her what she wanted, not because she cared about who I was inside. My value to her was measured in money, in effort, in what I could give, never in who I truly was. Still, I held on, because love can make a man blind, and I thought if I just gave more, if I just proved myself enough, she would eventually see me the way I saw her. I told myself it was only a phase, that she would grow out of her selfishness, that one day she would love me fully. But the truth was already clear. She was using me, and I was letting her. At first, I never thought my brother's presence was something to worry about. He had always been part of my life, and I believed family should feel welcome, so when she came around and he happened to be there, it felt normal. In the beginning, I even felt glad they could talk, that she could feel comfortable around him, because to me, it meant that the people I loved most were blending into one circle. But over time, I began to see something I could not ignore. Their conversations grew longer, and when I entered the room, they often stopped talking as if their words were not meant for my ears. I noticed how their smiles seemed different when they looked at each other, not the casual kind shared between family and friends, but something more private, something with a spark I could not explain away. She laughed at his jokes more than mine, and he listened to her with an attention I thought was reserved for me. It started small, with moments that seemed harmless, but the more I watched, the heavier the feeling grew inside me. I would find them sitting too close on the couch, their voices low, and when I walked in, they would suddenly shift, pretending nothing was unusual. I convinced myself I was imagining things, that my jealousy was unfair, that maybe I was just tired and overthinking. I did not want to believe my brother, the person I trusted with everything, could ever cross such a line. I did not want to believe my girlfriend, the woman I supported in every way, would betray me like that. Still, the uneasiness gnawed at me. I began to see her body language change when he was around, the way her eyes lingered a second longer, the way her energy seemed to rise when she knew he was coming. And I saw him too, leaning closer, always eager to be part of her space. I told myself it was nothing, but deep down, I knew something was forming between them, something that didn't belong. I felt trapped between love and blood, not wanting to accuse either, not wanting to face what my gut was already screaming. That shadow between them grew darker, and even though I tried to push it away, I could not stop feeling that I was standing in the middle of something that was slowly tearing me apart. The doubt inside me grew heavier with every passing day until it became impossible to ignore. I started noticing her excuses for being late, her sudden need to go out at night, her phone that never left her hand. She would smile at me and say everything was fine, but her eyes carried a distance that words could not hide. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to silence the storm in my chest, but my instincts told me something was wrong. Then one evening, fate handed me the truth I had been avoiding. She left her phone on the table while she stepped into the shower, and for the first time I picked it up. My hands trembled, my heart pounded, but the screen unlocked easily, and what I saw inside shattered me completely. There were messages from my brother, not innocent ones, but words filled with intimacy and promises. They spoke about nights they had spent together when I thought she was with her friends. They spoke about feelings they had no right to share. The words cut through me like a blade, but the photos were worse. Pictures of them together, smiling, holding each other, living a life in secret that mocked the one I thought I had with her. Every line I read, every image I saw, tore away another piece of me. It was betrayal from two directions at once, from the woman I gave everything to, and from the brother I trusted as blood. My world collapsed in that moment, the weight of it crushing every hope I had carried. I felt my chest tighten, as though the air had been stolen from the room. I sat there frozen, staring at the screen, unable to move, unable to believe what my eyes showed me. It was not suspicion anymore, it was proof. The lies I had been trying to ignore were now undeniable facts, written in their own words and captured in their own photos. Betrayal was no longer a shadow, it was reality, sharp and cruel. I put the phone down slowly, as if it burned my hands, and sat in silence while the sound of the shower continued in the background, as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. In one evening, the life I thought I had built was destroyed, and I was left with nothing but the bitter taste of truth. After that night, I was not the same person anymore. The discovery broke something inside me that I could never put back together. I sat alone for hours, my mind replaying every moment of our relationship, every sacrifice I had made, every dream I had shared with her. I thought of the bills I paid without complaint, The nights I stayed awake worrying about her problems, the way I carried her struggles as if they were my own. I thought of how I defended my brother in front of others, how I always believed he would stand by me no matter what. And then I saw the truth again in my head. The messages, the photos, the proof that all my effort, all my love, and all my trust had been wasted on lies. My heart felt like it was being crushed over and over again, because the betrayal was not only from a lover, but from my own blood. I realized I had been nothing more than a stepping stone for them, someone to use until they got what they really wanted. She had used me for money, for comfort, for the life I gave her, but she gave her heart to him. My brother, the man I once called my closest friend, had mocked me behind my back, taking what was mine without a second thought. That realization hurt more than anything. It was not just love lost, it was dignity ripped away, trust destroyed, and identity shattered. I began to question myself, wondering if I had been too blind, too weak, too desperate for love. I wondered if everything I believed about loyalty and family was just a story I told myself to feel safe. The pain was unbearable, and yet I could not run from it. It lived inside me, filling every moment with heaviness. I could not eat, I could not sleep, I could not find peace. I stared at the walls of my room and felt nothing but emptiness. Every memory of her smile now felt like poison. Every memory of my brother's voice now felt like a knife. The heartbreak was complete, and the realization was final. I had been used, I had been betrayed, and I had been left with nothing but the pieces of a life that was never real. After the heartbreak came something colder, something that did not explode in fire but sank into my bones like ice. It was rage, but not the kind that makes a man scream or break things. It was a quiet rage, the kind that sits heavy inside you, building strength with every passing moment. I realized quickly that if I confronted them face to face, I would lose. They would deny everything, twist their words, cry fake tears, and turn the blame on me. They would say I was insecure, that I was overthinking, that I was making stories in my head. I had already seen enough of their lies to know how easily they could perform another one. That is why I chose silence. I decided I would not confront them right away. Instead, I would watch them, study them, and gather more proof than they could ever deny. Every time she left the house with an excuse, I wrote it down. Every time my brother showed up unexpectedly, I noted the time. I took screenshots of the messages, saved the photos, and stored them in a place where no one could touch them. I was building a case, piece by piece, like a man preparing for war. The rage inside me was not loud. It was patient. I let them think I was still blind, that I still believed their lies. I ate dinner with them, smiled when they spoke, and even pretended to care when she talked about her day. But behind my calm face, I was calculating every move. I was no longer the man who begged for love or trust. I was the man who would make them face the truth they thought they could bury. The nights were the hardest, because when the house was quiet, the rage burned stronger. I would lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the messages I had read, imagining the nights they spent together while I sat alone, believing in their lies. My fists clenched in the dark, my chest tight with anger, but I never let it out. I told myself that anger wasted in shouting was useless. Anger used in silence was power. So I trained myself to hold it in, to let the quiet rage sharpen me instead of breaking me. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, my silence became my weapon. I no longer felt the need to scream at them, because I knew the moment would come when I would destroy their lies with proof. I wanted their downfall to be cold, undeniable, and final. I wanted them to feel the shock I had felt when I saw the truth on her phone. I wanted them to feel exposed, helpless, and broken. And the more I thought of it, the calmer I became. The rage was still there, but it was no longer a storm. It was a deep river, moving slow but powerful, waiting for the right moment to flood. I looked at them and felt nothing but disgust, yet I kept my mask in place. I let them laugh, I let them touch, I let them think they had fooled me. All the while, I was the one in control, because I carried the truth, and they carried only lies. That quiet rage became my strength. It gave me focus. It gave me patience, and it gave me the power to plan the revenge that would end everything between us. I was no longer the victim of their betrayal. I was the shadow they could not see, the silence they thought was weakness, but was really the calm before their destruction. And every day that passed, I grew more certain of what I would do. Her family always believed I was the perfect partner for her. They welcomed me into their home, trusted me, and treated me like one of their own. They would often say how lucky she was to have a man who stood by her, who supported her, who gave her everything without hesitation. They looked at us as an example of love, the kind they wished for their daughters, the kind they thought would last forever. And for a long time, I carried that respect with pride, believing I was giving her family something solid to trust in. But now, carrying the weight of betrayal, I saw clearly that they were being deceived just as much as I was. She lied to them as easily as she lied to me, showing them a mask of love while hiding her secret life with my brother. Every compliment they gave her, every proud smile they showed me, it was built on falsehood. I could have kept the betrayal between us, but why should I? Her family deserved the truth. They deserved to see her real face, the one behind the sweet words and fake devotion. They had believed in her loyalty, defended her when others doubted, and carried her name with pride. To let them live in ignorance while she mocked me behind closed doors felt like another crime. I decided they would know everything, not because I wanted sympathy, not because I needed their pity, but because truth belongs to those who have been lied to. I thought about every family gathering, every moment they welcomed me, and I knew they deserved honesty. They needed to see that the woman they loved so much was not who she pretended to be. She had used me, betrayed me, and shamed her own family without their knowledge. I prepared everything carefully. I gathered the screenshots of her messages with my brother, the photos that showed what words could not, the timestamps that proved it was not just a mistake, but a pattern. I organized them into a folder, clear and undeniable, so there would be no space for excuses. I knew her family loved her, but I also knew they valued honesty and dignity. They believed in loyalty, and when they saw what she had done, they would not stay silent. This was not just my revenge anymore. It was their right. They had been fooled into believing she was faithful, and I would not let them live in that illusion any longer. In exposing her to them, I was not only giving myself justice, I was giving them the truth they deserved. The morning I chose to expose her was calm, but inside me, the quiet rage I had carried turned into purpose. I woke up early, sat at my desk, and opened the folder I had prepared. Inside were the screenshots of every message between her and my brother, every photo they thought was hidden, every piece of evidence that showed the truth they had buried in the dark. I looked at it one last time, not to doubt myself, but to make sure there was no room left for her lies. Then I opened the group chat with her family, the same one where she often painted herself as the perfect daughter, where she shared pictures of dinners, celebrations, and happy moments with me at her side. That morning, I shattered that picture completely. Without adding a single word, I sent the proof. One by one, the photos uploaded. One by one, the screenshots appeared in front of every eye that once believed in her. My hands did not shake, my heart did not race. For the first time in months, I felt calm. The truth was leaving my hands and landing exactly where it needed to be. At first, the chat was silent. I could imagine them opening their phones, expecting something normal, only to be hit with betrayal written in her own words and captured in stolen nights with my brother. Then the silence broke. Messages of shock came flooding in. Questions, disbelief, anger. Her family demanded answers, asked how she could do this, how she could betray the man who gave her everything and the family who believed in her loyalty. Some messages were directed at me, filled with support, filled with shame for what I had been put through. But most were directed at her, a storm of disappointment and rage that no excuse could calm. Notifications filled her phone where it sat on the table, buzzing like an alarm she could not escape. I didn't wait for her to wake up. I didn't wait for my brother to react. I closed the chat and put my phone down. I had no need to argue, no need to explain, no need to add more words. The evidence was enough, and the silence of my action was louder than anything I could have said. In that moment, I finally felt free. The truth had left me, carried now by those who deserved to know it. Her perfect image shattered in an instant, and there was no way she could rebuild it. The fallout came fast, heavier than even I expected. Her phone rang over and over, vibrating across the table as her family tried to reach her. I watched as she woke, confusion on her face turning into panic as she saw the messages pouring in. She scrolled through them, her hands shaking, her eyes wide, and I knew the moment she saw the evidence I had sent. Her lips trembled, her face drained of color, and then the tears came. Not the kind born from love or guilt, but the kind that come when someone realizes their mask has been ripped off in front of everyone. She tried calling me, tried sending desperate messages, asking why I had done this, begging me to take it back, swearing it was not what it looked like. But I ignored them all, because the proof spoke louder than her lies. Her family was relentless. The same people who once praised her now tore her apart with words of disappointment and anger. They reminded her of all the times they had defended her, trusted her, believed in her. They told her she had shamed them, shamed herself, and destroyed the respect they once held for her. No matter what excuses she typed, they did not listen because the evidence I provided left no room for doubt. On the other side, my brother went silent. He avoided every call, every message, hiding like a coward in the shadows of his own disgrace. He stopped showing up at family gatherings, avoided neighbors, and carried the weight of his ruined reputation wherever he went. People whispered his name with disgust, shaking their heads at the betrayal of blood. The fallout spread further than just the family chat. Friends heard, neighbors heard, and the two of them became a story people spoke about with shame. I watched all of it unfold without saying a word. I did not need to add fuel to the fire. I had lit the match and walked away, and that was enough. My life, though scarred, felt lighter, because the burden of their betrayal no longer sat on my chest. They carried it now, and it crushed them. She lost the image she worked so hard to maintain, my brother lost the respect he once had, and both of them were left standing in the ashes of the lies they created together. When it was all done, when the noise finally settled, and the truth had burned everything they tried to hide, I made my choice. I did not stay to argue. I did not stay to watch them beg. I did not stay to give them more of my time. I packed my things quietly, each item a reminder of the life I had given and the loyalty I had poured into people who never deserved it. I looked around one last time, not with sadness, but with clarity. This was no longer my home, no longer my fight, no longer my burden. I had carried their lies long enough, and now they were left to carry the shame without me. I walked away with my dignity intact, because I knew I had exposed the truth without lowering myself to their level. I did not scream, I did not threaten, I did not turn violent. I used silence and evidence, and that was enough to destroy the world they built on betrayal. As I stepped forward, I realized I was no longer the man they had broken. Yes, my heart was scarred. Yes, my trust was shattered. But I was stronger because I survived it. She used me, drained me, and betrayed me. But she no longer had power over me. My brother betrayed my blood, but he no longer had a place in my life. They were both left with nothing but the wreckage of their choices, while I walked away free. For the first time in months, I felt air in my lungs without the heaviness of heartbreak. I felt the ground steady beneath my feet. I felt like myself again, not the man who was used, but the man who had the strength to end it. I did not need revenge beyond what I had already done, because truth itself had been the weapon. I did not need to see them suffer further, because I knew they would live with the shame forever. I walked away knowing I had lost two people I once loved, but in reality, I had lost nothing of value. What I gained was myself, my freedom, my peace. My final thought was simple and clear. She used me. He betrayed me. But I left them both with nothing but their shame, and I walked away stronger than ever before.